Hi. The new year has started with an incident, with an unexpected incident that surprised the Middle East, especially. U.S. has conducted an airstrike with an unmanned air vehicle in Baghdad against the Kasim Suleimani. Qassem Suleimani is very important figure in Iran. He is the Iran's elite Quds Force general, and he was assassinated in U.S. airstrike at Baghdad airport on 2nd of January 2020. Following that strike, the U.S. Department of Defense, or Pentagon, announced that the assassination of Kasim Suleimani, the commander of the Jerusalem force of Iranian Revolutionary Guard Army, is ordered by the US President Trump. They were mentioning that, or US is mentioning that General Qassem had been planning an active attacks on the American diplomats and troops, not only in Iraq but in the also region, and his blood, his hands are full of the bloods, innocent bloods. That's why he was terminated. Now this is going to open a big debate now in the region, and so it's going to just put fuel on the fire, and we will see now. We want to talk about what might happen in the region shortly. So let's start. So, the Iran State TV carried a statement by Khamenei calling the commander Suleimani the international face of the resistance. Khamenei declared 3 days of public mourning for the general's assassination or death. He was mentioning that Iran and all the free nations of the region will revenge the death of General Suleimani. But now the attack came amid tensions with United Nations after the New Year's attack by Iran militias in Baghdad on the US embassy in Baghdad. There were 2 days attack, and it prompted President Trump to deploy 750 soldiers to the Middle East for that purposes. Now, President Trump said on Tuesday that Iran would be fully responsible for all these attacks, and then this assassination took place. He was a very important face in the Middle East, and he was all over from Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, of course, and all other Afghanistan, Pakistan, everywhere else, basically. Of course, his assassination or death is not going to change the Iran's plans deeply. Of course, it will be some kind of a break, let's say. The general's deputy, Kani, if I'm not wrong, has already been assigned as the general of the Quds Army. And now we should not forget that Iran has a deep history and an imperial culture. Why I'm saying this? Because you should understand that Iran is not or has not been depending on a person ever. They have a big historical or empirical experience. So these kind of assassinations are not welcomed, of course, by Iran, but they are not going to deter their plans in the region. The increasing influence of the Iran was not welcomed by US at all, and as you might remember, US had already declared the Quds Army as a terrorist group, and that's why Suleimani's being as a target to US was legitimized by these already laws passed in the US. But Now, Iran is now forced to reply this by an also operation, which now everybody is expecting. Unless Iran replies this or answer this with an operation, Americans or Iran will be under the belief that Americans will be encouraged to take more actions against Iran. And of course, that's why Iran is now compelled to reply this. So how? Now, for Iran, there are strongholds that Iran has in the region. These are the countries such as Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, and I am expecting one of those countries that Iran is going to reply back. Why? Let's go to Iraq. There are a lot of militias backed by Iran over there, which have been already carrying attacks against the US and the Western assets. So the risks that these kind of attacks will be increased or will be much more resulted with a severe damage is increasing. And but Iran is also concerned about one thing. Despite the fact that the attack to or the assassination of Qassem Suleimani had not been informed by US to Iraqi government, because we can understand that from the Prime Minister Abdul Mahdi said that these attacks has not been informed to Iraq, and they are really concerned about that. The risk of war is increasing, and that's going to deter our relations with our neighbors. They are not welcoming this attack. Despite the fact that it has not been informed by US, such operations are going to put Iraq into a really bad position. In the parliament, there are a lot of members who are in support of Iran, as we all know, and now the voices of the voices against US is going to increase in Baghdad or in Iraq, which is going to put Iraq into a very weird position. They have to be also good with US because of all these relations and backups and the fights against ISIS. But due to the other relations and the cultural relations, religion relations, and other relations, they are really good with Iran, and they have to also be good with Iran. So this attack already puts Iraq into a weird position, and Iran retaliation against American assets or economic interest in Iraq is going to only increase the division within Iraq. So, but that will might happen. That's a really high risk, because Iraq is one of the strongest hold in the Middle East for Iran. The other one is Lebanon. Hezbollah is there, nothing to mention, so they can also retaliate this attack by targeting the US assets in Lebanon, and this is also a likelihood, and we should be expecting this. Why I said Saudi Arabia, maybe you might remember, but 4 months ago Iran has conducted an attack to Abqaiq and to Huaris oil processing facilities, which caused Saudi Arabia's oil processing half down. So this economically puts or economically damaged Saudi Arabia and in relation that to US. So Iran might consider conducting such operation in Saudi Arabia, which would damage the US economic interests especially. Turkey and Europe, no, I don't think so it will happen, because let's say if it happens in Turkey, and Turkey will also show a strong reaction against this, and will change its position, and it's going to open a new wing in the I will say the northern west part of it, and that's not good for Iran. They don't want to open a new problem with Turkey for that reason. So I don't think so they will attack any assets in Turkey or in Europe in that regard too. Now the consequences is going to the consequences of this assassination is going to really be a problem, not only for the region but also for global, and we will see at first that the oil prices is going to increase as long as this tension stays at the peak. Why? It's really very easy, because the Hormuz Strait and the capacity that Saudi Arabia is producing the oil is going to be at risks, at perils for all time, as long as this tension stays. So this tension is not going to go down. Why? Because it's more or less for sure Iran is going to retaliate such assassination of General Qassem Suleimani, and this is going to increase the tension between US and Iran. Once this is going to increase, it means that any operation or assassination, if happens, is going to compel US to retaliate back, because President Trump said already it should be. If they are going to do, or if they are going to harm US or the allies, we are going to retaliate back. So that means the risk of military clash between two states is also likely, is also now at high perils. That's why such tension is high, and the prices of oil is going to be also at high at all time. Now, this is one thing we should not forget. The other thing that we should not forget is the reaction of US government. Despite the fact that President Trump announced that they have done the attack by his order, and the message sent to the Swedish embassy in Iraq, or Iran's embassy, is showing that US is also concerned, or concerned with any kind of retaliation by Iran government. They take the tension down. They are saying that yes, we are going to retaliate back if Iran is going to do same, but also they are really concerned about this. If you make an attack, you should not do anything else, just stay like, you know, like cool, and wait whatever actions, because your plan should be ready. But the reaction of US shows that they don't want war, and they don't want war means that they are really concerned about the consequences in the region. So because any war between US and Iran is going to really deteriorate the plans of US, especially once they are trying to deploy all their forces in the Southeast China, and that will really halt their deployment at least 5 to 10 years maybe in a war between US and Iran. And that's why US is really concerned about this possibility. Iran is going to respond, and likely in various places, as we are considering, in not only one, but it should be more than one. I believe 1 or 2 in states like Lebanon and Iraq, they are going to really retaliate this action. But it's important to see how Iran would retaliate the Qassem's assassination. The scale of it is very important, really. And how they are going to do this. Is it going to be various in numbers, or is it going to be one big target? All these things are really important. The level of it is important, and all these things are really important in this retaliation. Once it happens, we will have even much more better picture what might happen for future, because now this reaction, if it happens, and likely it should, it will show also the plan of Iran for future, so we can understand whether it's going to escalate to really a possibility of a military clash or not. But at this moment, our belief is that Iran is going to retaliate in more than one targets or economic interests of US in the region especially, and this might really escalate the risk of war between two countries in the region. If you like this video, there's a like button underneath the screen. Press on it, and if you subscribe yourself to our channel, we will be happy to share our videos at first with you. Thank you for watching, and have a great 2020. Have a nice day. Bye.